I'm Carol Souza Cole with the League of Women Voters of California. With me now is Bill Lockyer, the Democratic candidate for state treasurer. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Nice to be with you, Carol.
In 60 seconds, who is Bill Lockyer?
Oh, hard in 60 seconds, but I'm a husband, a proud grandfather, a proud dad of a 7-year-old Diego Lockyer. I currently am, of course, serving as the state's banker, as state treasurer in California. And I've been involved in public service from the time I was on a local school board in San Leandro to today.
And so why are you running for treasurer?
Well, I think the state needs effective, strong leadership that has experience, that's willing to speak out on important public issues. I'm proud to have a reputation for being honest and direct about policy problems. I'm critical of the legislature for their many, many failures and think I can make a contribution and hope that people agree.
And how are you qualified to be California's treasurer again?
Well, of course, I've been doing the job, and I think successfully. Just one of many examples. I manage about $60 billion in public money that we invest. During these down times when Wall Street and so many others had a bad experience, including many of our own pension plans and so on, we didn't lose a nickel with the state's investments. In fact, we actually made about $2 billion each year. So that's a sign of measurable success, and there's other things I'm proud of. If I may give one more quick example, I manage the Scholar Share, the program that allows parents and grandparents to invest in their kids' or grandkids' education. That fund grows over time and helps them in college. We've had a 59% increase in the accounts in that fund just in the last 3 years because of aggressive and successful marketing, and I hope to continue to do things like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. So also as state treasurer, the treasurer is responsible for administering the sale of bonds and notes and is the investment officer for most state funds, as you just described. Mm-hmm. What specific investment experience would you like to add and expertise will you bring to this job?
Well, of course, I've been responsible for my own personal investments for many years and think I've done reasonably well. But separate from that, I manage. That's what I really do. I'm a manager of investment professionals who've worked in the treasurer's office, many for many, many years. They do a good job. I'm proud to provide some direction and guidance and marketing skills. You know, I'm the one that says, well, why don't we market to ma and pa investors, not just the big institutional investors? And why don't we have a website to inform people of buycaliforniabonds.com to bring in more retail investing and so on. So I'm kind of the idea guy that helps to oversee and implement, but there's a lot of good professionals there too.
Mm-hmm. And so for this election, what do you feel are the defining issues?
Well, there's always more attention on governor and U.S. senator and things of that sort, and I guess to some extent people will be deciding on what team that they want. I've worked with both Democrats and Republicans in my various times as Attorney General or legislator or treasurer, and so I'm capable of being bipartisan that way and just staying focused on getting the job done. Mm-hmm.
And so as the state's banker, what will be your major challenges?
Well, I think the big issues are protecting the taxpayers' interests. That is, when we issue debt to build schools or other things, we should get the best deal possible. Basically, I'm a professional negotiator, whether it was as a lawyer or a legislator or attorney general. And so I think we can show that we've had good outcomes in saving Californians a lot of money when we do that well. Secondly, we need to invest in California infrastructure, schools, universities, levees, water systems, and so on. You do that, of course, long-term investing, by selling bonds. We need to keep that program going. And then to the extent that my office is part of the effort to help businesses create jobs, we should be aggressive in that way also, and we need good jobs in our state.
So the treasurer, as you know, serves on many different authorities, boards, and commissions, and you mentioned one earlier. How will you use your position to affect policy on such things as education, transportation, and housing?
Well, mostly I'm a banker there, and the policymakers are the governor and the legislators and so on. I try to do my best to convince them of the virtues of old-fashioned balanced budgets, of not having excessive debt, of having efficient spending so people get a dollar's worth of service for every dollar's worth of tax and so on. So other than as an advocate, we also are involved in helping finance those public needs that you mentioned.
And so if you're elected in this election, what will be your first, second, and third priorities in this term?
Well, the first is taxpayers, to protect their interests. The second is help create jobs, partly by the investments in the necessary infrastructure in the state, to see that we maintain our quality of life and provide the services we need as California continues to grow.
So to what extent does the treasurer have oversight of financial institutions, and in what, if any, ways would you like to have this oversight change to affect positive influence on corporate behaviors?
Pardon me, Joe. This office is not a regulator, a disciplinary enforcement, law enforcement. That was more like the Attorney General work I did. There are some aspects that are more informal. If we think they're Wall Street sharks, we don't do business with them. If we think there's ethical challenges with respect to someone that wants to do business with the state from the financial world, we blow the whistle and we don't do business with them. I help to write strong regulatory rules at the investment offices like the pension funds and so on, and advocate for legislative change that would be, whether federal or state, provide greater enforcement oversight, but it's not a direct part of the treasurer's job. And I'm frankly not sure that it should be. There are other people to do that. We don't need to duplicate.
In the event of future revenue shortfalls for the state, what specific actions or policies would you as treasurer take or suggest? Well,
unfortunately, there have been significant revenue shortfalls for the last 10 or 11 years. The last balanced state budget was when I was serving as president of the state senate. Now, a lot of other people can claim responsibility for that, but I helped. Unfortunately, we've been borrowing in order to meet program obligations. It's a bad idea to sell bonds to finance operational deficits. The bonds should be used for long-term investments in things like schools. So my advice to them is stop the gimmicks, balance the budget, do honest accounting, and I'll continue to argue for those things with the legislators in both parties that I think are irresponsible in those ways.
So you touched on the sale of bonds to deal with these shortfalls. Do you favor taxation in dealing with these shortfalls?
I think a combination of spending cuts that are prudent, and we have to do some of those, taxes that are temporary and moderate, and efficiency to make sure that we spend every dollar well. We don't do enough of the latter, and I think that there needs to be more emphasis on bipartisan work to see that all public monies are spent well.